You scroll past a photo and your chest tightens. It happens in less than a second. You didn't choose it. You didn't plan it. But something in you has already done the math and decided you came up short. That feeling isn't a flaw. It isn't weakness. It isn't something therapy invented a name for last decade. It is one of the oldest survival tools your species ever built. And understanding where it came from will change the way you see every person you've ever envied. Let's go back. Not a few years. Not a generation. Around 150,000 years back. You're living in a band of roughly 25 to 150 people. This is everyone. There is no city, no internet, no strangers who will never see you again. There is only this group, and your survival depends entirely on your position within it. If you fall too low in the hierarchy, you don't eat first. You don't get the best shelter. You don't attract a mate. In a world without surplus, being ranked near the bottom could literally end your genetic line. So your brain built a scanner, a constant, automatic, background process that never fully shuts off. It watches the people around you, measures what they have, measures what you have, and flags the gap. Psychologists call this social comparison. Evolutionary theorists call it a status monitoring system. You call it scrolling through Instagram at midnight, wondering why you feel terrible. The researcher Leon Festinger was the first to give this process a formal name. In 1954, he published his social comparison theory, arguing that human beings have a fundamental drive to evaluate their own opinions and abilities. But here's what Festinger noticed that most people miss. The drive isn't random. You don't compare yourself to everyone. You compare yourself to people who are close to you, similar to you, just slightly above or below you on whatever ladder currently feels most real. You don't lie awake comparing yourself to a 12th century peasant. You don't feel hollow because a cheetah runs faster than you. Your brain filters. It finds the person in your field, your social circle, your income bracket. The one who just got the promotion, the one whose relationship looks effortless online, the one who seems to be moving forward while you feel stuck. That is the target. That is the one who activates the scanner. This is not cruelty. This is calibration. In the ancestral environment, comparing yourself to someone wildly different from you would have been useless data. What matters to a status monitoring system is the margin, the gap between you and the person one rung above you. Because that gap was actionable. That gap told you what to do next. Psychologists Sulls and Wheeler, building on Festinger's work, showed that we have two distinct comparison directions, and each one does something different to us. Looking up at someone more successful is called upward social comparison. It can motivate you. It can also crush you. Looking down at someone less fortunate is called downward social comparison. It makes you feel temporarily better. But neither one actually changes your circumstances. Both of them are your brain running a very old program in a world that looks almost nothing like the one that program was built for. Here is where it gets stranger. Your brain cannot reliably tell the difference between a real threat to your status and a perceived one. The same neural architecture that fired when a rival tribesman got more meat than you now fires when someone you barely know posts a vacation photo. The amygdala, the part of your brain that processes threat, responds to social rejection and status loss with the same urgency it reserves for physical danger. This was documented extensively by researcher Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA, whose neuroimaging studies showed that social pain activates some of the same brain regions as physical pain. Being left out hurts. Being ranked below your peers hurts. Your brain is not being dramatic. It is doing exactly what it evolved to do. But the environment has changed, and the mismatch is making you miserable. For 99% of human history, you compared yourself to the 25 to 150 people in your immediate group. That was the entire sample. Now your brain runs the same comparison program against billions of people. And the internet has arranged itself to show you the absolute best moments of the most successful among them. Your status scanner was designed to process a village. You are feeding it the entire world's highlight reel. This is not a metaphor. Researchers Vogel, Rose, and Miller published a 2014 study in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology that found a direct causal link between Facebook use and negative effect. And the mechanism was almost entirely social comparison. More time on social platforms did not make people feel more connected. It made them feel worse about themselves, not because they were weak, because the comparison system was working perfectly, just on inputs it was never designed to handle. So why can't you turn it off? Because turning it off is not something evolution equipped you to do easily. The brain does not come with a switch labeled status monitoring. It runs below conscious thought. It is woven into the same reward circuitry that makes food taste good and danger feel urgent. Psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia describes this layer of processing as the adaptive unconscious, a set of mental processes that operate outside of awareness and are extraordinarily fast. You consciously decide very little of what affects you. The comparison has already happened before you realize you're doing it. The moment you see someone else's success, your brain has already evaluated whether it raises or lowers your relative standing. The emotional response follows automatically. The conscious thought, the story you tell yourself about why you feel that way, comes last. And that story is usually wrong. You tell yourself you are jealous because you're shallow, or insecure, or not working hard enough. But the jealousy is not a character defect. It is information. It is your brain identifying something it has registered as a gap in your position. Understanding that changes what you do with the feeling. You don't need to eliminate the comparison. You need to audit it. Ask, is this a useful gap? Is this a rung I actually want to climb? Is the person I'm comparing myself to someone on a ladder I even chose, or a ladder that was handed to me by an algorithm? Most of the time, the ladder was handed to you. Researchers call this reference group, the set of people you unconsciously use as your standard. For most of human history, your reference group was determined by geography and birth. You had no choice. Today, your reference group is largely assembled by platforms whose entire business model depends on keeping your comparison engine running at maximum load. The more you compare, the more you engage. The more you engage, the more data they have. Your 150,000-year-old status scanner is being harvested. And yet, the system isn't useless. Not even now. Used consciously, comparison is one of the most powerful motivators available to the human brain. Athletes who train with competitors slightly better than themselves improve faster. Students who see peers from similar backgrounds succeed in demanding programs show higher persistence rates. Researchers call this the near-peer effect, the motivating power of a gap that feels closable. Your brain responds to a closable gap differently than it responds to an unbridgeable one. The closable gap activates drive. The unbridgeable one activates despair. The trick, if there is one, is learning to choose your comparison targets with the same deliberateness that your ancestors never needed, and you always can. Compare yourself to who you were last year. Compare yourself to people who have something you genuinely want, not just something the platform decided to show you. Compare yourself to the version of yourself that made one small choice differently and ended up somewhere slightly better. That is a comparison your brain can actually use. Because here is what all of this means. That tightening in your chest when you scroll past someone else's success, that is not a sign that you are broken. It is a signal from a system built before language, before agriculture, before cities, before the entire recorded history of your species. It is ancient. It is automatic. It is loyal to a version of your world that no longer exists. And now, for the first time in 150,000 years, you know it's there. Which means, for the first time, you get to decide what to do with it. The same scanner that used to measure your place in a tribe of 50 people is still running. You didn't choose it. You didn't design it. But now you know exactly why it fires. And that changes everything. Tonight, when you put down your phone and that familiar hollow feeling tries to settle in, you will know what it is. Not weakness, not failure. Just a very old system, running in a very new world, still trying to keep you alive.